News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. More than 500,000 homes and businesses across the Northeast are without power. More than 10,000 flights have been canceled since yesterday as a powerful storm rips up the East Coast. The snowfall has backed off or completely stopped for most inland areas. The coastal region, though, is getting slammed. Bloomberg meteorologist Rob Carolyn.
Those snowfall rates have been ridiculous, between 2 and 5 inches an hour. I'm seeing totals now east of Islip, Long Island, at around 27, 28 inches of snow. We've seen Providence, Rhode Island get 2 feet of snow this morning, and it looks like they may rival their all-time heaviest snowfall with a blizzard of 78. They may get over 28 inches of snow from this storm.
Bloomberg meteorologist Rob Carolyn says this is a classic nor'easter, but it's more intense, bringing ferocious winds up to 80 miles per hour. The Supreme Court's decision to nix President Trump's reciprocal tariffs is throwing fresh confusion over global trade deals. Chairman Jason Smith of the House Ways and Means Committee tells Bloomberg the Supreme Court decision leaves tariffs effectively unchanged.
The Supreme Court decision is not going to affect the revenue that's coming in for the most part, because under federal trade statutes, the president is going to be able to levy his authority to implement virtually the same tariffs that were in place that the Supreme Court threw out.
But the European Union is poised to freeze the ratification process of its agreement with Washington, and other economies, including the UK and Australia, are facing higher levies than they'd negotiated. Bloomberg Intelligence senior analyst Nathan Dean tells Bloomberg Intelligence that Republicans are starting to voice their concerns.
I think most of the Republican Party understands that tariffs are a tax on the American people. You know, there have been significant numbers of Republicans that have voiced their uneasiness with tariffs. But, you know, when it comes to affordability, you know, President Trump will say that prices have come down, inflation has come down. But, you know, the markets sort of say something differently. And so, you know, anecdotally, if you've just been to the grocery store, food prices are certainly up.
Still, market reaction to the Supreme Court ruling on President Trump's tariffs has been relatively subdued. Bank of Montreal CEO Darrell White.
I think it's early days. I mean, the announcement's a couple of days old on IEEPA. If you look at the market reaction, it's been pretty subdued, as we've all been talking about this morning. I think part of that is because some of the outcome that we saw over the last few days was probably priced into bond markets, so we haven't seen much of a reaction there.
And stocks are lower as traders assess the implications of the latest tariff developments. We do check markets for you all day long here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 is down 1%, NASDAQ down 1.2%, the Dow down 1.5%, the 10-year Treasury yield at 4.05%, the 2-year yield at 3.44%. Shares of Novo Nordisk fell 16% after a head-to-head trial showing Novo's next-gen obesity shot, CagriSema, delivered less weight loss than rival Eli Lilly's tirzepatide. Bloomberg Intelligence senior pharmaceutical analyst Sam Fazeli says this study has effectively handed a gift to Eli Lilly.
Once this data is published, they can go out there and say, well, look, we've beaten Wegovy, we've beaten the next generation drug they've got, at least on weight loss on the surface, and they should be able to sell as much as they can make.
The results could weaken Novo Nordisk's competitive stance in the obesity market. PayPal's stock slump may be attracting some takeover interest. Sources tell Bloomberg any interest right now is preliminary and might not lead to any deals. PayPal has reportedly fielded bank meetings with suitors who have shown interest in buying all or part of the company. Mexico's president says U.S. security agents did not participate on the ground in the operation to capture cartel leader El Mencho, who was killed on Sunday. President Claudia Sheinbaum says the U.S. provided data to Mexican security forces, which led to his capture. That sparked violence, prompting airlines to cancel flights and the State Department to warn U.S. citizens to shelter in place. Sheinbaum says there is more calm in Mexico today, and all flights are expected to resume by Tuesday. A State Department official says the U.S. has ordered non-essential diplomats and family members to leave Lebanon as tensions over Iran rise with the threat of a potentially imminent military strike. The official says a continuous assessment of the regional security environment determined it's prudent to draw down the embassy's footprint, so only essential personnel remain. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear from oil and gas companies as they try to block lawsuits linked to climate change. The industry faces dozens of lawsuits from state and local governments arguing the companies deceived the public about fossil fuels' contribution to climate change. The companies went to the Supreme Court saying those lawsuits present a serious threat to the oil and gas industry. A federal judge has permanently barred the release of a report by special counsel Jack Smith on his investigation into President Trump's hoarding of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon granted a request from Trump to keep that report under wraps, saying that its release would present a manifest injustice to Trump and his two co-defendants. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.